to talk about it right now because I'm going to ask you, Congressman, what do you think about this whole George Santos affair?
I think the country is tired of hearing about George Santos. I think they're wondering, how is he still there? In any other job, if you lie on your resume repeatedly, you'd be fired within a week.
About everything.
About everything. I mean, look, Americans have a tradition of sometimes exaggeration. That's the great Gatsby story where he talked about being an Oxford man. But this is not exaggeration. This is blatant fabrication about every part of his resume and biography. And it's embarrassing to Congress that already has such low approval. I just hope that he'd do the decent thing and resign, or that we can agree that he shouldn't be lying to the American people and serving in Congress.
So McCarthy has said that he's not going to seat him on the more sensitive committees, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe he's not going to put him on intelligence or military affairs, veterans affairs, but he will still seat him on some committees. How do you feel about serving potentially along George Santos on a committee?
Well, I'm on the House Armed Services Committee, so it's a relief that he won't be there. But I just don't see how you seat him on committees. And I think I agree with Jake, who was on earlier. I think this is going to be a problem with McCarthy. Instead of getting to talk about his agenda, what he wants to do, he's going to be repeatedly asked about George Santos. And I think he's going to realize that it's better to cut ties and move on.
I want to ask you about immigration. That's another bill that the Republicans are going to bring up in the House. It does feel like an interesting moment. You have House Republicans who, as Jake pointed out, are on the more conservative side. So I imagine any bill on immigration is going to be on the more conservative side. But you did have this so-called codel by a number of bipartisan senators to the border over the past couple days. Kyrsten Sinema, John Cornyn, Chris Coons, and many others. And they are going out there and saying, we need to fix what's happening at the border. We can't just talk about it all the time. We've got to actually do something about it. They sound like they want to put forward something along the lines of a comprehensive immigration reform bill, something the White House would certainly like to see. Do you see any way for an agreement in the Senate with the White House to get through the Republicans in the House of Representatives?
It's uphill, but the only person who's ever put forward a plan is President Biden. And, you know, I don't agree with every part of it, but at least he's trying to tackle the problem. This is common sense. What we need is more funding for border security and more funding for processing asylum claims and being able to process asylum. And I wish we could get that agreement. I think it would be progress if the senators were willing to talk about with President Biden. Look, for everyone else has criticized the border, I haven't seen a single plan other than President Biden's.
You know, we were talking about immigration yesterday through the lens of the economy, and I had CNBC's Steve Leisman on to talk about how this country needs more immigration because our birth rate is declining. They need more. The country needs more people to shore up Social Security and Medicare. There are, I think, 8-point-something million people who are out of work, and yet 10.9 million jobs that are still left open. So even if all those people were put to work, there would still be about 2 million jobs left over. Why is this argument not being made, economically speaking, in Congress to try to convince your colleagues that something should be done?
Katie, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, our comparative advantage is that there are a line of people who want to come to America and not go to China. That's what's made us such a strong economy. Let me be specific. We've talked in the past about bringing manufacturing back. Intel is creating 2 plants in Ohio. If you talk to the Intel CEO, he'll tell you that we need to get some of the talent from Taiwan and other parts of the world where the manufacturing has been. Yes, we need to invest here in engineering and developing our workforce, but that's going to take years. In the meantime, we need the expertise. So hamstringing some of the immigration is hurting our ability to be a manufacturing superpower. It's hurting blue-collar jobs in America. And I think we have to make the economic argument.
You know what it's not hurting? Political messaging, campaign messaging, posturing. Khanna, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time, sir. And
thank you.